Anyway, then this summer I went to see a dermatologist called Dr. Ophelia Varach, who's very good with hair. And I'd been told this by a number of people because, I used to be in the beauty world. I used to be a beauty editor.
Yeah.
So I sort of have connections there still. And someone said to me, oh, she's really good. You should go and see her. And quite a lot of things have changed recently in terms of sort of hair. And it's like there's a lot of sort of rubbish around hair loss. And I just thought I want people to see what it's like to have proper hair loss that is not caused by, thank God, cancer or anything like that, but it's just genetic and just unfortunate. And what it is that a lot of women are dealing with quietly. And it's sort of the last taboo. It was just always a thing. It was the first thing I thought. It is the first, still is the first thing I think about in when I wake up in the morning. And probably the last. It's really defined my life, really, to be honest. And I used to ring him up and I used to say, I've got a new system. Can you fuck it up for me? Because that's the thing about wigs, is they're too perfect.
Hello everyone, and welcome to How to Have Extraordinary Relationships podcast 2026. You might be listening to it early 2026 or later on, and I'm so thrilled to be back with Sarah Vine. She came on the podcast before. It did very, very well. A lot of people listened to it and enjoyed it. And
Good.
She's back now because she's always got a new thing to tell us. So she's an author of How Not to Be a Political Wife, which is an out and out bestseller. You're still selling it, and I know you went to the Dragon School and did a Christmas fair and everyone was very excited. That's in Oxford.
Yeah, they were very excited.
Yeah, you've done a big piece with Hannah Betts, who's also been on the podcast, saying we both hate Christmas and beating each other at the Christmas trees.
Yeah. What's hilarious, actually, that shoot.
Didn't you shoot it?
I'm a terrible. I have only just yesterday, very reluctantly, got a tree, and it is not decorated. It's just sitting there looking at me in a kind of aggressively tree-like manner.
Never mind. Now, and of course, the other thing, all sorts of things have happened. So we're going to go there. But the most important thing, which I think is incredibly brave of you, is that you came out, I don't know how you'd like to say it, as someone who actually suffers hair loss, and you've been wearing a wig for quite some time. And you wrote
long time.
Yeah. And you wrote for the Daily Mail.
Yes.
And it's of course gone stratospheric because you're talking about something really raw, I imagine. So tell us about
Well,
it.
I thought to myself, so I've always had hair loss. It started when I was in my teens, and I don't really know what caused it. I think with these things, often it's a combination of factors. In my case, quite a stressful childhood, which you and I have talked about. I was very oversensitive. I was a very sensitive child, and I think hair loss is caused by stress sometimes. Underactive thyroid. So that does cause hair loss as well. And then I think just a genetic predisposition to it. My father has it. My grandmother on his side had it. So I think it's just a genetic thing. Often it is. And I just have very boring, what is basically termed as male pattern hair loss, which is the kind of thing that you see, that a lot of men have, which is where their hair up top just gets progressively thinner. They don't necessarily lose their hairline. In my case, I don't lose my hairline. So my hair, I still have a hairline. In fact, do you want me to take my scarf off so you can see?
Yes, I mean, would that be okay? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wearing.
We've got many scars, right?
Yeah, I'm cold.
Yeah.
So I've got this sort of kind of no hair here scenario, which is obviously attractive and lovely, and then quite thin at the sides, and then sort of normal at the back.
Right.
Which is kind of, it's sort of the worst possible scenario because it does make you look like an old man. That is what old men
right, because they've got kind of hair at the back, but not much here.
Exactly. And there's not a lot you can do with it. So I started with it when I was very young, and then for years I sort of managed it, and it just gets progressively worse as you get older. And then I sort of hit the menopause, and then it got really bad because obviously
Right.
people's hair falls out anyway with the menopause on the whole.
Mm.
And so if you can imagine, in my case, sort of all the factors combined in a perfect storm of baldness. So I started wearing wigs about about 12, what is it, 2012? Yeah.
Mm.
So nearly 15 years ago. And it wasn't a wig I had. I had something called an interlace system by a lovely lady called Lucinda Ellery, who runs a salon who specializes in hair loss
Right.
for women.
Yes.
And lots of people and lots of people who go to her have my problem or similar. She also treats people who have cancer, obviously.
Mm,
And she also
mm.
treats people who suffer from something called trichotillomania, which is when you nervously, it's a nervous disorder.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know people that have pulled out all
They
their
pull out their
eyelashes.
lashes and their
Yeah.
eyebrows, and sometimes
Yeah.
they
It's
do
a
their
it's a
hair.
it's a yeah. It's a nervous reaction. Right.
And what she does is she does integrated systems, so they're stitched into your hair. So you wear the system all the time. And it's nice
Mm,
because you're not taking your hair off at night. And I think a lot of people
mm,
find that
mm,
kind of slightly irksome. And
mm.
also a lot of women try to conceal this from their partners or whatever.
Yes.
It's a very effective way of sort of managing it if you are sort of struggling with the concept. It just means that it's very subtle and it works very well. And I did that for ages. Anyway, then this summer I went to see a dermatologist called Dr. Ophelia Varach, who's very good with hair. And I'd been told this by a number of people because, I used to be in the beauty world. I used to be a beauty editor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I sort of have connections there still. And someone said to me, "Oh, she's really good. You go and see her." And quite a lot of things have changed recently in terms of sort of hair. I'm not really a very good candidate for transplants. I've looked into that, and because I have such a lot of loss here,
Mm,
I
mm,
need a lot of hair transplants.
mm,
And also I think it's just I'm just not up for that. I
mm.
can't have 4 or 5 hair transplants. I just don't have the downtime, which is probably what I'd need to get the coverage. So I thought I'd go and see her and see what she had to say. And she looked at my hair, and initially she was like, "This is really advanced." Because of course the problem with hair loss is the longer it's been happening, the harder it is to fix. But
Right.
basically, all I would say to anyone watching this,
Mm,
however old you are, whether you're 15 or 55, if it's just starting, deal with it because you'll probably be able to knock it on the head very
right.
successfully.
Right.
Uh, but you see, when I started losing my hair, there were no solutions at all. If you just went to the doctor and the doctor just said, "Well, it's not life-threatening and there's nothing I can do about it really. Maybe try eating some fish or something." I mean, there was
Right.
no
So you
solution.
won't be. Yeah. There was no kind of.
You couldn't really treat it. So it was just
No.
one of those things. Um, so going back to Dr. Rach, so she said, I'm not sure that's how you pronounce her name. I'll call her Dr. Ophelia because I'm not sure how
Yes.
to.
Yes. Doctor.
Um,
Yeah.
and she said, so initially she said it's going to be quite difficult because you've got quite a lot of scarring and just also the follicles after a while just eventually just shrivel up and die, and then they're quite
Mm,
hard to reactivate. And then
mm.
we did some blood tests and she had another look and she said that she thought, well, she could probably do something. So I thought, well, okay, this is quite interesting. Be quite nice because I quite like having my hair short. I'm
Okay.
not, I'm
You've
not
got very
bothered
good
about.
cheekbones, right? I mean, you've
Yeah,
got a
I'm
good
not bothered.
shape.
I don't really mind about having lots of long hair. The only reason I had long hair with the system is because it works better if it's longer.
Right.
It,
So
it
having short hair with that system was quite
it's
hard.
just a bit of a nightmare.
Right.
Whereas long hair is much easier to manage because the weight of the
Because it
hair.
hangs. Yes, I understand. Yes. Yes.
But I'm quite happy if she can get me back like 30% and then I can just wear my hair cropped, then I'm fine. I just don't like the bald patch at the front.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd give it a go. And I'm 60 in 2027. And 20, God. Anyway, so I'm 60 then. So I thought it'd be quite nice to have my own hair for my 60th birthday. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well. And for years, I'd always thought about I've talked about hair loss before. I've written about it a
Yeah.
lot,
Okay.
but no one has ever actually seen it.
No, so I think people are like, okay, but there, it was
Yeah.
hard to know what you meant by that because you
And
had
yeah, you
your
say, "Oh, my
hair.
hair's been falling out," and people think, "Oh, maybe it's a handful in the shower." It's really not. And I wanted, because a lot of people write about, oh, my hair's falling out, and then you look at them and you think, no, it's not, babe. Your hair's not falling out. My hair's falling out. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of sort of rubbish around hair loss. And I just thought I want people to see what it's like to have proper hair loss that is not caused by, thank God, cancer or anything like that, but it's just genetic and just unfortunate. And what it is that a lot of women are dealing with
Mm.
quietly. And it's sort of the last taboo
Yeah,
because although men, I don't think for one second that men losing their hair is any less upsetting than it is for a woman, but it is a slightly different framing
yeah,
hair in men. So if you're losing your hair as a man, the sort of the narrative is, oh, I've just got so much testosterone because I'm such a man that all my hair's fallen out. Whereas, and of course, if in a woman, that's not a good thing because it
mm,
is androgenic hair loss. So, it's my follicles are sensitive to androgen, which is a male hormone, and
mm,
that's why my hair falls out. So basically what you're saying is, well, I'm less of a woman because I've got this male pattern hair loss. And I think for women, so much about your identity and so much to do with beauty standards are bound up in hair, and hair is kind of the first, everyone talks about it, isn't I mean, people will go, they will sort of hair is totally an obsession. I mean,
yeah,
really is.
yeah.
And culturally, you think about Rapunzel let down your hair,
Let down your golden hair. Yeah.
beautiful princess with all the long thick.
Yes, all those Disney princesses. We've got massive
Yes.
amounts of hair.
And you think about you think about Roald Dahl's The Witches, where they're all horrid because they all have hair like mine. And I think that those sort of cultural references and in a way sort of conditionings, they do affect you because you do
Yeah,
think, I can't be attractive because I don't have any hair. And that's basically, all my life has been that. And that's one of the reasons I got so interested in makeup because, I can't really do anything with my hair, but I can put some eyeliner on. So that was why I always loved makeup as a girl, as a young girl. But when I was a child, when I was a young girl, a teenager growing up, everyone was doing their hair the whole, and it was just not something I could participate in and I couldn't even sort of go swimming because if I went swimming, then you would see my scalp, and then I'd be really embarrassed because everyone would look at me and I'd feel really self-conscious. And if I
mm,
and I didn't go dance, I wouldn't go to clubs because for the same reason, if you start dancing, you sweat a bit, and then in my case, immediately, the strands would part, and it would be really obvious that I had no hair. And so I was very so it does limit you quite a lot. It's limiting in a sort of psychological and perhaps social way, I think. Anyway, I thought what I could do is I could come out and I could talk about it. And then I thought maybe all the other women who have got this will not feel like they'll just feel a bit more normal because it really is the last taboo. And
yeah,
I think it'd be quite nice to normalize this problem
yeah,
rather than just constantly hide it. And the other thing is the whole wig industry, I mean, it's much better now than it was when I
yes,
first started losing my hair. But the whole wig industry is huge, and I am a bit worried about. And I'm not really comfortable with wearing somebody else's hair on my head, genuinely. But
really. You find that really. Do you know what you
well, I
find
just think, well,
difficult about
I
it?
don't know. I worry sometimes that there are so many wigs have become such a thing now, and it's such a kind of. I think there's something. I find there's something a little bit weird about sort of a kind of, you know, well-fed Western woman like me maybe wearing some poor woman's hair. Do you know what I mean? I find
Oh, because you feel they've sold it rather than
I
giving.
worry about that. Yes, I do. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
told that it's all ethically sourced, but you know what things are like. It could be like avocados. You remember when avocados suddenly got really popular, and then everyone started, mass farming them, and they started being really uneco. I'm a bit,
Yeah,
I think because wigs have been so popularized by celebrities, and they are used very widely now. Um, and that's fine. But I don't know. I think it was about authenticity, and I think because I did the book this year, which was
yes,
very authentic and honest. I think I just wanted to sort of it felt like a continuation of that conversation. Me a
yes.
little bit. Shall I shut up now?
So it starts off when you're young, and I'm really, I mean, so girls and their hair, women and their hair. I mean, I've got lots of, I've always had
Yeah,
lots of hair.
I
Yeah,
love
I
it.
have dreams that someone, nightmares, has cut my hair off when I'm asleep, and I wake up
But
and I've
that's so
got
because
no hair.
I have dreams that I wake up with beautiful, thick, lovely, fabulous hair. That's my dream.
So how does it feel when you wake up and then it's a dream?
Kind of disappointing.
Right. Wake up thinking, oh, I've got Rapunzel hair.
No, no, you're not. You're basically Mrs. Egghead.
So I mean, it starts. So even when we're really, of course, as babies, no one's ever got any hair, really. But at some point, hair grows, doesn't it? Boys generally tend to get their hair chopped off, although some boys now
Yeah,
don't have very long hair.
yeah.
But for a girl, it is a thing. Goldilocks. It's a real thing, is it? So did your hair
Culturally,
ever?
it's so bound up, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And I think it's also, well, it's also very biological because, of course, long, thick hair is symbolic of fertility and all of
Yes.
those things.
Yeah.
And in the same
And
way that
Alice in Wonderland has long hair. All those little girls
they
in
all
the
have
storybooks have all
beautiful,
got long
beautiful
hair.
hair. Yeah, they all have beautiful, beautiful hair, and
Mm,
it's all about brushing it and
mm.
styling it and putting it up and all of this kind of stuff. And it's, we're all and it is an obsession. It is a
Yeah.
total obsession. I mean, if you think also, there's that brilliant scene in Mean Girls, isn't there, where she talks about having a hair full of secrets.
Yes, yes,
Her hair is all
that's
full of
right.
secrets. Yes.
Yeah,
My hair doesn't have any secrets in it because literally.
because it's like so. I mean, but when you first did it just start falling out, or did it never really grow? Or
No, that's the awful thing is I had wonderful thick hair, beautiful, dark, thick hair. If you look at some of my Facebook or something, you'll be able to see it. But I had this amazing black, almost blue hair. It was very dark and
mm.
very long and very lovely. And it was fantastic until about the age of 13 or 14. So it was in secondary
So,
school.
so was that menstruation? Sorry, that was so was
I
that is
think
that
it
again?
might have
Yeah,
been something to do with getting my
puberty.
period as well. Yeah, I think it might have just been doing just something to do with my hormones coming on
Yes.
stream. And then what happened was the parting just started to get really wide, like the parting got wider and wider and thinner. And so then I cut it really short. And
Mm.
because then it was easier to sort of mess up. You can sort of camouflage it. I would always say to people who've got thin hair, cut it short, just get a really good short haircut because it's much easier to manage. Don't keep it long because
So actually, so I think lots of things came together potentially. Number one was puberty, which actually, had we know what we know now, you might have got checked for your hormones and blah blah blah.
yeah,
Actually, because your
yeah,
hormones go sky high. Number two is stress, isn't it? You had a stressful childhood.
yeah, really stressful. Yeah,
You
really, really
did. I mean,
very, very anxious, kind of always feeling under the sort of a lot of flight, fight or flight, sort of always feeling, never feeling kind of, yeah, just anxious, really, really anxious. So I think that was really part of it. And I think, these things you can have a predisposition and
mm,
they can never be triggered. But
yes.
if sometimes once they start, and for my hair loss, so it came and went a bit. It's definitely because it is hormonal. So when I was pregnant with my children, I had no problem getting pregnant at all. So my hormones obviously work, there was no
Yeah.
issue there. Um, and uh, and when I was pregnant, it just stopped falling out, and I had a completely
Oh,
normal
that's
head of hair.
really interesting. It
Yeah,
stopped falling out when you were
yeah,
pregnant.
yeah.
Yes, there's definitely a hormonal element, but also, your father, you know, you have a very beautiful mother, and you never felt that you were very beautiful. And this is with or without the hair.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think yeah, I think the hair thing was a big deal because it became it became a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, if you know what I mean. Because my mother always had fabulous hair, and I was just, and it was the one thing that I did have, and then it just sort of started to go. So it was like
Did you have
a
nightmares?
first fairy tale, really.
Yeah. I mean, did you have nightmares? Did you try and hide? It must have been horrible.
Yeah, no, it was awful. It was really awful. And I remember going to get it cut short the first time and feeling very sad about it because I just had nice long hair. It was, just normal, kind of nice long hair like yours. But I do remember feeling very sad about it. So, I mean, it was partly okay because it was sort of the 80s and everybody had that Princess
Pixie
Diana.
cuts, yeah, Princess
Well,
Diana pixie
yes,
cuts.
exactly. So it wasn't so bad. I suppose in that.
But pixie cuts wasn't sort of gamine Audrey Hepburn type people who were like way too
Yes.
stone.
Because I wasn't really a gamine Audrey. I still am not a gamine Audrey Hepburn type person. I mean, there is a moment. Also, I have this very weird masculine hairline, which is very low. So I always remember sometimes people would call me sir if they saw me from behind, which I found really upsetting. Really, really upsetting. Um, yeah. So yeah, it has. I have to say it has been an enormous part of my life, and
Yeah.
it has really defined me in a way that I'd rather not be defined.
Do you think I'm never going to get a boyfriend?
Oh, definitely, because boys would notice. They would say, I mean, people are rude, aren't they? And
Rude.
and they would say, "Oh, your hair's really thin," and I'd be like, "Really? Thank you so much for telling me. I hadn't noticed." And because actually girls were kinder about it because I think they
Okay.
understood generally the awfulness of it. But boys just like I think boys just thought I was a bit of a freak. And of course I was because then I got really shy. And because you just get very self-conscious and then of course, as I said, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I do think there was an element of me just feeling pathetically grateful for any boy that was interested in me. And I think that led to me making quite a lot of bad choices about
Yeah.
boys
Yeah.
and men because when you feel that you have this terrible low self-esteem because of a physical attribute that you really have no control over, then it's difficult. And the other thing about the hair loss is that it's not life-threatening. So you feel like you're just being really vain because actually there's no harm comes from it. I mean,
Well, emotional harm comes from
the
it.
emotional harm, exactly. So you
Yeah,
also feel like you
psychological
almost,
harm.
but I remember feeling like I didn't really have a right to be upset because there were people that had much worse things going on. Do you know what I mean? There were people who
Mm.
were much worse off than me, and what I'm complaining about some hair. So and so you felt like you were just being. I felt like I was just being very vain. But yeah, it was just always a thing. It was the first thing I thought. It is the first, still is the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning, and probably the last. It's really defined my life, really, to be honest.
Yes.
And it would have been career limiting as well. I don't think that a woman with my extent of hair loss could have become a prominent journalist or a broadcaster. I just don't think that would have happened.
What do you think? Why? Why?
Well,
Because
because it's
you're not
not.
the feminine archetype.
No, exactly. I mean, you know, you look at Naga Munchetty, who has that fantastic short crop, and people criticize her for just having a short haircut. You
Mm.
know, imagine
Mm.
if you've got no hair. And I couldn't have gone on the telly. I wouldn't be doing, spots on This Morning talking. Just it's like no, you are marginalized as a bald woman.
Yes.
In the same respect, I think people are marginalized as bald men as well, but I think more so as a bald woman.
Very different. Very different for men.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're dating or, wanting to date, you don't say I'm not going to go out with someone that's bald.
No, you don't. Absolutely not. You don't. Whereas men will not go out with a woman who's bald
Yeah.
because, you know, they want the beautiful hair and the sort of, so so that's that. Then
It must be so hard because, of course, I'm having, met you and it never occurred to me.
no, it's a very good system. Very good.
Not that your hair kind of was, I mean, of course it's your hair, but it never occurred to me that wasn't,
Yeah.
the hair you were born with, as it were.
Yeah. But I got very good at. There are certain tricks with hair systems and wigs and things that you can do that make them look much more natural. For example, I always used to go to see. But when I had my own hair before I started wearing the system, I used to go and get my hair cut by a guy called George Northwood, who's a brilliant hairdresser, actually. Really,
Mm.
really, he's quite famous now. Well, in fact, very famous now, and he does lots of sort of very glamorous, famous people, but because I've known him so long, he very sweetly still cuts my hair. And when I went to, and he was brilliant. He and I were brilliant at disguising my hair loss for years, because he would cut it in such a way that it was quite sort of, everything went to different. So you could, it was very good at covering up the bits that needed to be covered up. But then it got to the stage where even he couldn't cover it up. So that's when I started wearing the system. And the thing about the system is that it took a while for me to work out that, you need to do you need to wear it in a certain way, and one of the things that he used to do is he used to cut it for me, and I used to ring him up and I used to say, I've got a new system, can you fuck it up for me? Because that's the thing about wigs, is they're too perfect.
Yeah, they're like ant helmets,
Yeah. So the telltale sign of a wig is that it's just too perfect. So I would take my wig to him, and he would just go top, 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 and then suddenly it would look so much more natural because he sort of fucked it up. So that's the key thing. I think I could write a sort of whole book on how to make your wig look natural.
So when you first started out, did you have hair that wasn't natural?
When I first started out, what, in journalism?
I mean, when you first started getting the system, has it always been natural hair?
Always been human hair. Yes, yeah. I've never had synthetic hair. It's very difficult to manage synthetic hair, and especially if you're wearing it the whole time and you're therefore washing it on your head, it's very difficult because it doesn't really work. It deteriorates very quickly, and it gets very sort of weird and sort of claggy. I'm going to put my scarf back on because I'm cold. It gets very claggy, and it becomes very difficult to sort of make it look natural, whereas human hair is really good at that, and it's very resilient. Actually, it lasts quite well.
Yeah. So you write the piece. I mean, obviously you're married to Michael. So I mean, the men you've been with know about your hair? I'm assuming that they do.
Yes, I mean, Michael was always really sort of sweet about it. He just didn't seem to mind. I think maybe that's one of the reasons I married him. And he liked my short hair. He really liked my short hair. And I think and he always said, I had nice eyes and other things, so he wasn't that bothered about the hair at all. But he's not one of those men he's not that type of man who's obsessed with having that type of girl. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he's, so it was, but yeah, I think it was, that, it's, when I was younger, it was harder because everybody was just, because when you're young, everyone wants that sort of particular female aesthetic, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a bit like, they want someone who's slim. They want
Yes.
someone who's
Yes. Yeah. It's very, it's a very narrow model of what
yeah.
most men want, or what we think most men want.
Yeah, yeah. So it's all about that sort of beauty standard, really, and
Yeah.
I didn't really conform to it on. I felt I didn't conform on any level, and I mean, my weight was a problem as well. So I was fat, I was bald, and I was blind because I'm very short-sighted. So it was just like everything was just nothing is going right for me.
You were fat, bald, and blind,
Yeah,
but clever.
in my head, but at least a bit clever, yes.
So do you think you kind of became more clever because you thought, well, this is what I've got going for me. I've just got this.
Well, I think I definitely focused on that. I tried to accentuate the positive. What is it? Accentuate the positive, decentuate the negative. Yeah,
Yes. Don't focus on the bad, focus on the good.
exactly. Yes, focus on what works, which was definitely my sort of intellect rather than my appearance.
But you've had a lot of brickbats. I mean, that horrible, was it Jimmy Carr? I could be wrong in saying that.
Oh no, it wasn't Jimmy Carr. It was
Apologize to Jimmy Carr
Stuart Lee.
unreservedly.
Yes, I
Sorry.
don't think Jimmy Carr's ever been rude about me. I think it was Stuart Lee, that comedian, who said having sex with me was worse than having sex with a dead pig, which is lovely. charming man.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, I mean, you get women, lots of people get a lot of stuff thrown at them.
mm.
And, underneath all that, there's a human being who
Yeah, there is a
feels
human
that,
being.
yeah,
And also, I also I felt quite strongly that, so particularly with the hair thing, women who are perceived as wearing wigs or having problems with their hair are really pilloried. So, like,
yeah,
poor old
yeah,
Nicole Kidman, she's been having, people have been taking the piss out of her for the fact that her hair is not perfect and that people say that she's been wearing wigs. Well, fine, you know, uh, and it's just really it's a terrible thing to do to a woman because you don't know why they're losing their hair. There may be all kinds of reasons, and also it's really upsetting. So even if they are a big famous celebrity, and do you remember, I always remember when uh Britney Spears shaved her head.
yes, yes,
And again, there was that whole thing about she had this incredible sort of fabulous blonde hair. And then her shaving her head was such an incredible cry for help, wasn't it?
yes,
And it was so symbolic of this girl who just wanted to get rid of her femininity because it was causing her so many problems.
yes,
And I remember looking at her and thinking, crikey, you must be in a terrible place to want to do that because obviously she was trying to make herself unattractive just to get people to stop
mm,
looking at her.
mm,
And they did, and of course she was pilloried, and everyone took the mickey out of her. I remember at the time just feeling so sorry for her because as someone who has always struggled with their hair loss, I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to not have any hair, and I know that it marginalizes you in a way, and it places you to one side in
yes,
in the great competition of life. You're faulty in that respect. So I think it's just a really interesting and important subject for a lot of women, and the statistics are quite. I think it's about 35% of women have proper hair loss.
yes,
Proper,
it's,
or proper hair loss.
yes,
It's not a small number of people. It's also more common among certain ethnic groups. So
okay,
and because it is partly genetic, obviously. So therefore, certain groups have more problems with it than others, and and then of course in the Black community they have hair loss for different reasons.
mm,
Often to do with traction hair loss, which is to do with wearing um, weaves and stuff like that. So it cuts across all creeds and colors.
yeah,
It's not just it's not a narrow sector. So yeah, I just really want to people to talk about it and have
yes,
conversations about it, and to say and for it to be okay. It's quite funny when I do go out with my own hair, which I
mm.
occasionally do now that I've come out, as it were. Everyone's terribly nice to me. They think I'm
Because
ill,
you've got cancer.
but I don't, and that's awful because I feel like a terrible fraud because
Well, no, hang on, that's not your fault. Of course, people think you've been through chemo because that's sorry to say, or even the scarves. I mean,
yeah.
people, it's really difficult. We make
Yeah.
assumptions because
Well,
that's our
that's why I am
experience.
still wearing my wig because
Yes,
actually it's just I've got a very nice wig now, which is a full wig, so I can take it off so I can have the treatment.
right.
I had my first set of injections in my scalp, so I'm having this very wide-ranging protocol. So I'm having medication, vitamins, lotion, and then I'm having PFP, which is plasma treatment, and some other treatment that I can't remember the name of. And I had my first set of scalp injections for the plasma treatment, and honestly, it's still sore. Um,
Mm, mm.
but there's very good evidence that it works, so we're going to do that. Um, but yeah, I am still wearing the wig because again, because sometimes you don't want to go out into the world and
Mm,
draw attention to yourself by not
mm,
fitting in. Does that
mm.
make sense?
Yes, of course.
And I'm not really wearing the wig because I sort of prefer the scarf because it's just easier. But if I were to go out shopping now, people people do treat me differently because they think I'm ill.
They like carry your stuff for you and
Yeah, taxi drivers are nice to me. But if I put the wig on, then I just blend in. And that's the other thing, is that it's funny, but it's not just about wanting to look the part. It's also about wanting to just be normal, if that
mm,
makes sense. To
mm,
just part of the tribe, part of the gang. It's wanting to be the same,
yeah.
um, you know, to fit in.
Mm. So when either you're not wearing your scarf or you're wearing your scarf, people think you're fitting into a tribe, but it's not the tribe you're actually in.
No, no. And it all comes back to being an outsider. And I think I've always felt like a real outsider, and just all my life. But I've also had this physical trait that has made me an outsider, not through choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah, and it's I've had loads of letters and emails from people, and it's fascinating how many women have this. But also, I've had loads of communications from husbands and boyfriends. It's
Really.
quite encouraging, actually, saying, "Oh,
What saying thank you so much
thank
and my
you, my
wife.
wife has this, or my daughter's had this, or my girlfriend's had this, and I feel really terrible, and I never know what to say, and
Wow.
quite,
Okay. So you've
quite,
had a lot of women saying that's me or that's
yeah,
my sister or my mother or my daughter.
yeah, and then
And
a lot of
you've also had men.
rather sweet blokes getting in touch, which is very nice. Kind of gives you faith in the male of the species.
And you've also been on telly talking about it. I mean,
Yeah, I did.
I imagine it's had a huge response, hasn't it?
Yeah, it had actually, it did. I went on I went on national telly with my own shit hair. And no, they were very nice about it. Lots of people wrote in and got in touch, and yeah, it's been really good. And I'm doing a follow-up in the mail, and I'm also going to write a piece about wigs and hair pieces and all of that, just a kind of practical, almost sort of guide to piece.
Just to sort of, so it's becoming, I mean, it's obviously something you know a lot about because it's been going on
Yeah,
for
it's
such
fine.
a
It's fine.
long
It's like
time.
I've been dying to talk about this for so long, and now it's happening. I'm really enjoying it, and also my children are being very sweet about it. My daughter thinks I should dye my hair baby pink, of course, because she's 22. My son is terribly sweet about it, and my mum is really proud of me, actually, I think, as
Mm.
well, because I think she's known about it forever, and has known how upsetting it's always been for me. So
So is it on the back of the book and thinking, well, you know, I'm being honest, I'm being open, and this is the last.
yes, and I think the thing is,
Yeah.
I was expecting the response to the book to be much bitchier than it was.
Mm, mm,
I was expecting everyone to shout at me. And then actually, a couple of people shouted at me, but most people were really nice about the book and really interested about the book, and said they really liked it. And they said they quite liked the sort of authenticity and the honesty in it. And I think that sort of slightly emboldened me, I think, perhaps, to do this, to come clean about this. Because I
mm,
thought, well, the truth does really set you free.
yeah,
And there's nothing to be worried about. And if you're just yourself, actually then people do respond quite well, for the most part. And in this, in this particular instance with the hair, I do think it has a broader purpose, which is to sort of try and normalize this condition and to
yeah.
help other women with it be able to talk about it and be able to cut, to be themselves effectively, not have to hide behind, I mean lots of people like wearing wigs, but if you don't want to, if you just want to be who you are, um because I think a lot of the people don't find that easy to do. So hopefully, so it has a sort of dual purpose in the sense that I found it very liberating, but
Yeah.
hopefully others will too.
Great. Thank you so much. It's just brilliant.
Is that okay? Is that fine?
Brave. Yeah, it's very brave and very honest of you. And I can, I feel that 2026 is going to be a year of
Yeah,
you talking about this and writing about this and maybe writing another book.
yeah, maybe, yeah. I know because yeah. I don't know what I would write. I mean, there's so much I
That's
could
the
write
next
about.
step. Yeah, it's the next step, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, it is. I think it is that thing of it's all for me, it's all tied in with sort of that postmenopausal life where, you're not so worried about projecting this kind of perfect image of the perfect mother, the perfect wife, this, you just be
Mm,
yourself.
yeah.
And I think there's a lot there. It's freeing.
Yes.
It's a real liberation.
Yeah.
I was looking at your stuff on your wedding the other day on Facebook and thinking, you know, it's the same. You don't need.
Well, I'm just like, actually, let's just call this, call it what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. And I did that because I wanted to do it at the time, but now I look back and I think, well, that was probably a bit silly. But why should I be ashamed of it? It was just
Yeah.
how I felt at the time, and it was what I was just trying to get through something, and that was what I was doing. And that's the thing, and people do make mistakes, and I think we do things that are not necessarily good for us, but it doesn't mean to say that we have to give up and just shrivel up and die.
Yeah.
You have to keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, but I also think naming stuff is really helpful for other people. I think it's really helpful to say, this is, I've had hair loss, I have hair loss, this is actually what I look like.
Yeah,
This is how it feels.
Yes.
This is where it comes from, but it comes from different places for different people. And these are the possible solutions.
Exactly. I think that's really important to name stuff, because once you name stuff, it sort of it shrinks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's something that can be massive in your hair, but once you actually, like I said, the truth does set you free. It's very liberating. You take it off and you say, "This is me. Okay, do your worst." And that's it. And actually, usually they don't.
Great. Thank you so much for coming on again, and have a lovely beginning of 2026.
Yes, and you.